So, in the current electoral system, and you see the exact same thing in Australia that uses the alternative vote system. These are both majoritarian, winner-take-all systems. You get this same dynamic of you see it in the US, in Australia, in Canada, these bifurcated systems where you've got red and blue, and one party gets power, and then they make a bunch of changes, and then 2 or 3 elections later, the voters get sick of them, and there's this very small swing in public opinion, maybe only 3 or 4%, and it suddenly flips, and the other party has this huge majority, and they can do whatever they want, and they usually spend their first 100 days undoing all of the work that the previous party did. And then they're in power for another 10 years, and then they start doing the things that they really want to do because they've got all the power and they don't have to consult with anybody else, and they know that their time is limited. And then the same thing happens. The voters get frustrated with that, and they say, no, we got to kick these guys out. And it's usually only a small number of voters who change votes, but in the current system, that's enough for dozens, maybe hundreds of seats to change hands, and it goes back between these red and blue parties all the time. Whether that's in Australia, it's Labor and the Liberals. In Canada, it's the Liberals and Conservatives. You've got the Republicans and Democrats. This is a consistent feature of winner-take-all systems, and what it means is that if you're in it for values and for getting something done and for advancing those values, then you're only going to be able to achieve them temporarily. And then if you're in one of those major parties, you're eventually going to lose power, and that other party is going to work against you. And we get this high polarization in our legislatures and in society as well. And that's not healthy. It's not good for democracy. What we need is proportional systems, so outside of that winner-take-all family, where we actually have fair representation. If there's a change of 5% of the popular vote, then there should be a slight adjustment of about 5% of the legislature, instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater and starting all over again. And that's what proportional systems deliver. I used to live in the Netherlands for 5 years, in between living in Australia and Canada, and you see in the Dutch parliament, this plurality of parties, and to get any single bill passed, it needs cooperation and collaboration from multiple parties to get things done. And so decision making is slower, it's more deliberative, but it ends up being the right decision, and it sticks for the long term. And so it just changes the tone of politics entirely. And to the voters in the major parties, in the Liberals and in the Conservatives, this should be a goal that we want to work towards. It allows us to think long term, instead of just grabbing power and trying to do our best with it for 4 or 5 years before it's thrown out by the opposing party, because that doesn't move Canada forward in the end.